Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Yevamot. We are up to Perek Zayin, Mishnah Dalet. Today's Mishnah should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana, Ranbai, Eliyahu ben Burcha Yisrael, ben Chana bad Miriam, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen. And Leavdi ben Chaim Lechaim, v'derefua shenemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosen, Mariana Miriam Chaya bat Tamara, Betor Shah Cholei Yisrael. Yesterday's Mishnah taught that a fetus can disqualify a woman, his mother, from eating terumah, but cannot entitle her to eat it. Our Mishnah lists all the situations that have this effect on a woman. Ha'ubar, a fetus in a woman's womb. If the marriage of a Kohen's daughter to a non-Kohen ended and she has no children with him but is pregnant, the fetus in her womb disqualifies her from being able to eat terumah. And if the marriage of a non-Kohen's daughter to a Kohen ended with no children other than the fetus, it does not entitle her to continue eating terumah, as was explained in the previous Mishnah. Vayavam tum, she fell for yibum. If a non-Kohen married a Kohen's daughter and died childless, her yibum bond with the Yavam, who is also a non-Kohen, disqualifies her from eating terumah. And if a Kohen married a non-Kohen's daughter and died childless, the Yavam, who is also a Kohen, does not entitle her to continue eating terumah. Vairusin, the betrothal of a woman. Once a man betroths a woman, she is considered his wife even before Nisuin, the second stage of marriage, when she begins living in her husband's home. Therefore, a non-Kohen who betroths a Kohen's daughter disqualifies her from eating terumah, but a Kohen who betroths the daughter of a non-Kohen does not entitle her to eat terumah. She must wait until after Nisuin. This is actually a rabbinic law. Under biblical law, she may eat terumah immediately after Kiddushin. A deaf mute, someone who can neither hear nor speak, who married her. A deaf mute's marriage is biblically invalid, since Jewish law considers him mentally incompetent, but the rabbis instituted marriage for deaf mutes. If a deaf mute non-Kohen marries a Kohen's daughter, the rabbinically valid marriage is enough to disqualify from eating terumah. On the other hand, if a deaf mute Kohen marries a non-Kohen's daughter, he does not entitle her to eat it because her marriage is not valid on a biblical level. Uben tesha shanim v'yom echad, and a boy 9 years old and 9 years and 1 day old who has reached his 9th birthday, who cohabited with her. A boy's act of cohabitation is legally recognized from age 9. Therefore, if a woman cohabits with a 9-year-old boy who is forbidden to her, he disqualifies her from the kiuna. It is no different from her cohabiting with an adult who is forbidden to her, where the law is that she is forever disqualified from eating terumah. On the other hand, if a daughter of a Yisrael cohabits with a 9-year-old Kohen for purposes of marriage, he does not entitle her to eat terumah, because although a boy's cohabitation is legally recognized from age 9, his marriage is not valid until he reaches adulthood. And in order for Israelis to be entitled to eat terumah, she has to be married to the Kohen. Poslin, they all disqualify her from eating terumah, v'lo ma'achinin, but do not entitle her to eat it. The Mishnah adds a point regarding the 9-year-old boy who cohabited with her. Safek shu ben tesha shnim yom echad, safek she'eno. There is a doubt whether the boy is 9 years old, 9 years and 1 day old or not, so it is uncertain whether his cohabitation is legally recognized. He still disqualifies her from eating terumah. If the boy has in fact reached the age of 9, he disqualified her, and it is biblically forbidden for her to eat terumah. And since there's a general rule that we must be strict in matters of doubt regarding biblical law, she may not eat terumah if we are unsure whether he is already 9. The Mishnah teaches that we must similarly be strict with regard to another situation that disqualifies the daughter of a Kohen from eating terumah, which is betrothal to a non-Kohen. Safek evi shtei sarot, safek lo evi. Similarly, where there is a doubt whether a boy over the age of 13 who betrothed the woman has already grown the 2 pubic hairs that make him an adult, or had not yet grown them, so it is uncertain whether the betrothal is valid, he disqualifies her. Even after a boy had reached his 13th birthday, he is still not considered an adult, and his marriage is therefore not valid until he grows 2 pubic hairs, as the Rambam writes in Rechot Yeshut chapter 2 Halacha 11. The Mishnah teaches that if a non-Kohen boy who reached the age of 13 betroths a Kohen's daughter, and we are unsure whether the boy had reached adulthood at the time, we must be strict and forbid the Kohen's daughter from eating terumah. This is based on the general rule that we said, since betrothal biblically forbids her, we must be strict in a case of doubt. Now, in connection with these rulings, the Mishnah now mentions another case of doubt regarding Ibum, in which we must be strict. The ruling here is based on chapter 1, Mishnah 1, which taught that if a man dies and one of his widows is an ervat to his surviving brother, then neither she nor her co-wives need Ibum Mechalitza, and they are actually forbidden to him. However, if the man was once married to an ervat, but that marriage ended before he died, and the co-wives to me was still married when he died, do need Ibum Mechalitza. If a house fell on a man and his brother's daughter, Tumi was married, killing them both, Then Yadua Eze Met Rishona, and it is not known which of them died first. He also had another wife, an unrelated woman, had no children. The only surviving brother is the father of the dead wife. Her co-wife requires chalitza but may not be taken in ibum. If the dead wife, the niece, died before her husband, then he was not married to her at the time he died, but only to her co-wife, so she requires ibum or chalitza. But if the husband died first and he was still married to the niece when he died, so the surviving co-wife is actually forbidden to the surviving brother. We must therefore act strictly in both directions. He is not allowed to perform ibum with her, but she needs chalitza to be free to marry others. And that is in a Mishnah Daled. Now, Mishnah Daled, to summarize, discussed how marriage to a Kohen or a non-Kohen affects a woman's ability to terumah. Mishnah Hay now teaches how cohabitation outside of marriage affects a woman's ability to terumah. Ha'ones, a violator, a man who cohabited with an unmarried woman against her will. Hamfateh, a seducer, a man who convinced an unmarried woman to cohabit with him. Vashoten, an insane person. Lo poslim, they do not disqualify the woman with whom they cohabited from eating terumah if he is a non-Kohen and she is a Kohen's daughter. Even if he married a woman by the case of the shoteh, since marriage with an insane person is not legally recognized, cohabitation with him is automatically outside of marriage. V'lo ma'achlim, the Mishnah says, and they do not entitle her to eat terumah if he is a Kohen and she is a Israelis. Cohabitation by itself does not affect her ability to eat terumah. Only marriage between a non-Kohen and the daughter of a Kohen disqualifies her from eating terumah, and only marriage between a Kohen and a Israelit allows her to eat terumah. However, this is only if she cohabited with a man fit to marry Jewish women of proper lineage. V'im enam re'uyin lavo b'Yisrael. But if these men are unfit to enter into the congregation of Israel, meaning they are biblically forbidden to marry Jewesses of proper lineage. For example, the man is an Atain or a Mamzel. Harelu Poslin, they disqualify her from eating terumah just by cohabiting with her, even if the cohabitation was against her will. The Mishnah elaborates on its ruling that cohabitation outside of marriage does not disqualify a woman from eating terumah. Ketzad, how so? Yisrael shebal bat Kohen. If the violator, seducer, or insane person was Yisrael, a non-Kohen, who cohabited with the Kohen's daughter, tochal bat terumah, she may still eat terumah because cohabitation with a non-Kohen outside of marriage does not disqualify her. Ibra, if she becomes pregnant by him, lo tochal bat terumah, she may not eat terumah because the fetus from a non-Kohen disqualifies its mother from eating terumah, like we learned in Mishnah 4. Nechtacha ubar b'me'ah, if the fetus was cut up, he died in her womb. Tochel, she may once again eat terumah since she is no longer pregnant with a non-Kohen's child. Similarly, if the child was born normally and died after birth, she may return to eating terumah. Only a living child from a non-Kohen prevents her from eating terumah. The Mishnah now elaborates on the ruling that cohabitation outside of marriage does not entitle a woman to eat terumah. Kohen shebal bat Yisrael, if the violator, seducer, or insane person who was a Kohen cohabited with the daughter of Yisrael, lo tochal bat terumah, she may not eat terumah since cohabitation with the Kohen outside of marriage is not entitled her to eat. Like we explained in Mishnah 1, a Kohen entitles his wife to eat because he has acquired her, so to speak. Since here she is not his wife, she may not eat terumah. Iberav, she becomes pregnant by him, lo tochel, she still may not eat because the fetus from a Kohen does not entitle its non-Kohen mother to eat, like we learned in Mishnah 3. Yalda, where if she gave birth to the Kohen's child, tochel, she may eat terumah since she has a child from a Kohen. Nimtza kocho shel ben gadol mishel af. From here we see that the son's strength to entitle the non-Kohen woman to eat terumah is greater than the father's. The father did not enable her to eat terumah because he was not married to her, while the son that he had with her did enable her to eat terumah. The Mishnah teaches how a Canaanite slave affects the ability of a Kohen's daughter to eat terumah. Ha'eved posel mishum bi'ah, a Canaanite slave disqualifies a Kohen's daughter from eating terumah on account of cohabiting with her, since he is forbidden to marry her. A Canaanite slave is forbidden to any a regular Jewess, and like the Mishnah ruled, the forbidden man who cohabits with the Kohen's daughter disqualifies her from eating terumah. Veno posel mishum zera, but a slave does not disqualify her from eating terumah on account of being her offspring. It is not only a child who prevents a Kohen's daughter from eating terumah, but any living descendants from that marriage except the slave. And the Mishnah says, because he is not considered her offspring at all. Meaning it does not legally count as her living descendant, and therefore does not prevent her from eating terumah, because Torah law does not recognize any relationship between a Jew and the child of a slave woman. The Mishnah now expands its discussion of a Canaanite slave to also include the reverse case where a non-Kohen woman was married to a Kohen. It further explains how a Canaanite slave can come from either type of marriage between a Kohen and non-Kohen, and how he affects the ability of the woman to eat teruma. Ketzad, how so? Bat Yisrael a Kohen. If the daughter of a Yisrael was married to a Kohen, Bat Kohen Yisrael, or the daughter of a Kohen was married to a Yisrael, V'yalda imenu ben, and she had a son from him, V'alacha ben v'nichbasha l'shivcha, and the son went and pressed against it, cohabited with a Canaanite slave woman. V'yalda imenu ben, and she had a son from him. This son is a Canaanite slave, even though he has a Jewish father. A child born of a Jewish man and a Canaanite slave woman is a slave like his mother. Since he is a Canaanite slave, he is not legally regarded as the child of his father who was a Jew, or the grandchild of his father's mother. Therefore, Hayta em aviv bat Yisrael Kohen. If this father's mother is a Yisrael's daughter who was married to a Kohen and is now a widow or divorced, and this slave child or grandson is her only surviving offspring, their son himself, the father of a Canaanite slave, had already died. Lo tuchal batuma sheminadi turuma, because she is not considered to have offspring from the Kohen. Since he is not legally recognized as the offspring of his father and grandmother, she is considered a Israelite whose marriage to a Kohen ended with that offspring. Therefore, sheminadi turuma. Bat Kohen Israel, and if his father's mother is a Kohen's daughter who was married to Israel, and this slave child is their only surviving offspring, tuchal batuma shemit teruma, because she is not considered to have offspring from the non-Kohen. Since he is not legally regarded as the offspring of his father and grandmother, she is considered a Kohen's daughter whose marriage to a non-Kohen ended with that offspring. Therefore, she may resume eating teruma. Now, having taught that a Canaanite slave does not affect his grandmother's teruma status, the Mishnah teaches that a mamzer does affect it. Mamzer posel ma'achil. A grandson who is a mamzer disqualifies a Kohen's daughter from eating teruma, but entitles a Yisrael's daughter to eat teruma. The Mishnah elaborates, Ketzad, how so? Bat Yisrael a Kohen. If a Yisrael's daughter was married to a Kohen, Bat Kohen Yisrael, or a Kohen's daughter was married to Israel, V'yalda imenu bat, and she had a daughter from him. V'alcha bat v'nisel le'eved o legoy, and the daughter went and got married to a Canaanite slave or to a non-Jew. V'yalda imenu ben, and she had a son from him. Harez a mamzer. This son is a mamzer. Now this Mishnah holds that the offspring of a union between a Jewish woman and a Canaanite slave or non-Jew is a mamzer. However, the halakha does not follow this view. The offspring is a regular Jew. This is different from a child of a Jewish man, a Canaanite slave who is a slave. A child's status as a Jew, a slave, or a non-Jew depends on the status of his mother. So again, in the Mishnah's view, ben, she had a son from him, the son is a mamzer. Although he is not a proper lineage, he is regarded as his mother's and grandmother's legal offspring. Therefore, if his mother's mother is Israel's daughter who was married to a Kohen and is now widowed or divorced, and their only surviving offspring is their daughter's son who is a mamzer, the daughter herself, the mamzer's mother, had already died. Tuchal batuma shemeit teruma, because she has an offspring from a Kohen. Although this boy's father was a slave or a non-Jew, the boy, although a mamzer, is a Jew because his status follows that of his mother. Therefore, the boy is considered his mother's and grandmother's offspring that she has from a Kohen, and he entitles her to eat teruma. Bat Kohen Israel, and if his mother's a Kohen's daughter who was married to a Israel, and this mamzer grandchild is their only surviving offspring, lo tuchel batuma sheminari teruma, because she is considered to have offspring from a non-Kohen. That is Rabotai of today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Leolam. Amen v'amen.